Now, for over 3 years, Jackie Doherty has lived a mother's grim nightmare, really, watching her rock star son's grotesque descent into drug addiction. Her book, here it is over here, Pete Doherty, My Prodigal Son, is the compelling story of Pete's childhood, his extraordinary musical talent, and his very public disintegration, including his relationship with Kate Moss. For the past couple of years, Pete Doherty's hardly been out of the headlines or the courts.
Pete Doherty, musician, poet, lover, drug user, rock star, baby shamble and libertine, is one of this country's most observed contemporary musicians.
Sit down, keep your brains warm. You drinking me up here or what?
No, I try
I've been all over the world
with you, but you know,
I've been all over.
push 'em, man.
Smoke some scad, come on.
I can't take me anywhere. I can't take you anywhere. Can't take me anywhere. I won't take you anywhere. I'll take you anywhere you wanna go.
Yeah, I'm paranoid, which is why I'll do something very silly.
You know what?
And Pete's mum, Jackie, is here now. I know this is really hard for you, but you decided to write the book, didn't you, Jackie? Because, I don't know, partly because you've been scribbling along anyway, and you've always done bits of writing, and also because you thought when you kind of put it all together, it might help some other mum out there who was going through exactly the same kind of thing. The thing that you say about Pete is, who is, by the way, remarkably like you, it's quite extraordinary, he was, as a little boy, completely untroubled. All that usual stuff, you know, I mean, not from a troubled background. Tell us a little bit about your family life.
It's difficult to say, really. From my perspective, and people have different perspectives of life growing up. You could take children in the same family and they'll all give you a different answer. So I can't speak for Peter.
No.
As a mother, I thought we had a very happy family life. We were a caring family. There were parameters that weren't crossed, and I think loving discipline.
You were an army family, weren't you? Your husband's a major in the army. So you moved around a bit, as army families do, but you were partly because of that, you were very close and sort of inter-reliant on each other, weren't you?
Yes, and I'd like to thank the army and the people around us at the moment, because it's a family. We're a small corps, and we're a family, and very supportive.
Okay, and as a boy, I mean, Peter was a real performer. I mean, not just in the theatrical sense, but in class, he did really well in work. He was a great reader, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm talking about the classics. He was reading Brecht,
Baudelaire.
Baudelaire. Shakespeare, Wilde, everything, war poets.
It's interesting that he was drawn to, if you like, that romantic side of literature. That kind of fits in with his lyrics and his later poetry when he started making music, isn't it?
And when he was at that age, and as a teenager, say, did he smoke? Was he nipping down to the pub when he should have been at school, or was he a good boy?
No, not that I ever. There was never any trouble like that at all, Richard. I think from the smoking poem, it obviously he tried to smoke.
Well, all schoolboys give it a go, don't they?
He wrote a poem.
Yeah, but he was
Cough.
well, you know, he was well into his
So
late
he was completely centred, well behaved, and bright, and musically increasingly very talented. You found.
Well, that came latterly, because QPR football was his first love.
Yeah.
So, okay, so here you are. You obviously come from a very stable family, so does he. He's got 2 lovely sisters, you and your husband. Apart from the moving about, I mean, you must sit there and look at, as we all do, speculate about, when we read in the papers about people who are drug addicts. Why? What happened to them? What? And you must think that all the time, because as far as you're concerned, looking back, you can't see the root. You can't see why at all, can you?
It's easy to have that perspective. I've now moved on from that. I'm not alone. There are so many other mothers, because I couldn't hide my son's...
He's in the headlines
and half of what you read is not true.
No, of course.
But other people would come up to me, walk alongside me and unburden themselves and tell me things that you would never dream. And these were people from all walks of life. Yeah. And it suddenly dawned on me that we have a huge problem We have a huge problem in Britain.
But what's slightly different about your son is this, that, I mean, I know kids who have a problem with drugs. It's a very quiet problem, usually. It's usually something which you have to know about from the inside. Someone has to whisper to you, you know, they do a bit of smack sometimes, or they do this, or whatever. But the thing about your son is he's so flamboyant with it. I mean, his behaviour in public is extraordinary, you know. I mean, he's so obviously and so often completely off his face, you know, and behaving... well, flamboyant's really the wrong word, kind of outrageously and completely out of control. Did that surprise you, that he's gone from this, as I said, the centred, focused young man, to this extraordinary sort of walking tragedy?
Surprise is a difficult word to use. Yes, I never imagined, you know, any child of mine would be in prison, continually in the papers. But it's when you get behind that and you learn to, you live with it, and you see that so many other people have even worse problems.
Yeah.
But is it true that, for example, well, it is true, because you write about it in the book, that at night you leave your mobile switched on?
Yes.
Just in case you get that call, you know, the call to say that he's been taken to hospital,
Yes.
or something
Or
awful.
any call at all. Any call.
And is that because, I mean, he's done a lot of drugs, and he's taken some very serious doses of it, he's been very ill with it. Do you seriously think that he's in rehab at the moment, but that if he relapses, do you really think that he's very close to the edge, that he's very close to death in that sense?
It's difficult to answer that one, Richard, honestly, because who knows? I don't know what the future holds. Peter has to take back control of his life, as all addicts do. That when nobody sets out to be an addict. An alcoholic doesn't set out to be an alcoholic. And eventually when it is the cycle of change, and I don't know exactly where Peter is on that cycle of change. Some people, I've written about it in the book, some people never move off. Some die, some move very slowly. You can liken it to giving up cigarettes. You think about it first, and you move around.
How do you face the possibility of death? How do you face the possibility?
I'm not afraid of death.
Of his death?
His death, yeah.
It's so hard to answer that. I'm so sorry.
No,
but
it's all right.
One has to think about, it is his life. He's a 27-year-old man. He knows, he's intelligent, he's a thinker. He knows what the future holds for him. He has to make that choice. No one can make it for him.
Yeah.
Is he defiant about his drug taking? I mean, I know he's in rehab now, so he's in a good place now, in a better place now, but as a rule in the last 2 or 3 years, when you have conversations with him, is he kind of defiant about it? Like, I'll do it because I can, and I'm in control, and I'm okay. Or does he know he's got a massive problem?
We've never had that sort of conversation. No, not to be honest.
Why not?
It's very difficult to talk to an alcoholic if they're loaded. It's very difficult to talk to an addict if they're using. And it's better to speak to people, you know, when they're clean or sober.
Can I just speak about the difference between you and your husband's attitudes towards it? Because it seems to me we have here too, and I have huge sympathy with it, because I have absolutely no doubt that if I was in the same situation as you, I would be you, and Richard would be your husband, because you say that no matter what Pete does, you cannot ever give him up. There's no such thing as tough love for you. Your husband is the complete opposite. Is that true?
That's true, but within that statement, it's not just black and white, is it? Peter doesn't live at home. I don't know how. I'm a God Queen country person. I don't know if I could live with a drug addict like some of the mothers I meet do.
Right.
Okay.
Or to have, you know, I hate anything that's illegal. So I really can't answer that question.
Right.
Honestly, I forgive Peter.
Yeah.
He's ill. He needs help.
But do you always...
But your husband really feels that he can't actually face him at the moment. Is that right? And Peter doesn't like that. He gets upset about that.
It's difficult because the press play on that.
Yes, I know.
And, you know, one has to just let it ride itself out. I completely understand my husband's point of view. And we spoke after Women's Hour this morning, and I said, well, it looks like you're right, tough love. And he said, but I understand completely how you've behaved. I said, well, we're a wonderful team then, aren't we?
Yeah,
the yin and the yang. Well, I mean, I know there's a limit to what you are willing to say about his on-off girlfriend, Kate Moss. On the whole, do you wish that that was a relationship which hadn't started, or do you think it's turned into something which might help him?
May I just say, on the whole, I don't want to answer that question.
You
Not
simply
at
don't
Not
want to
at
talk about
all.
Kate at all?
I won't talk
Okay.
about Kate at all.
That's all right, that's fair enough.
But
We understand that.
he has been very much in love with her. That's certainly true, isn't it?
And Peter very much believes in love.
Yes,
He-
I know,
he is
I
a
know
gen-
that.
he is a gentle
romantic.
soul.
He's a romantic, and you can
Yes.
tell by looking at him.
I think you're remarkable. I think your book's remarkable. I just can't conceive of what it must be like to be in your position and to live with the kind of terrible uncertainty day to day that you have to. And know that, as you're right, of course it's an illness, but that to an extent it's a self-inflicted one which affects all of you, affects the whole damn family.
Absolutely.
And your marriage and everything.
It is said for every addict and alcoholic,
Yep.
5 people suffer. You could triple that.
Yeah. It's really nice to see you, and we wish you the very best. And if Pete's watching, we just hope that this particular rehab is the one that does it for you, Pete, and that you stay clean for good. And the book, Pete Doherty, My Prodigal Son, is published a week on Monday. That's it. Peaches Gelbloff's here tomorrow.
And also so is Ricky Gervais. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.